Well, welcome everyone. We'll keep admitting folks, but we're really excited to have Robo Wunderkind on this webinar. And so most of the time is going to be led by them. I'm going to turn it over in just a second to Claire, and she's going to lead us through the webinar today. So go ahead and Claire, take it away.
Hi. I'm really excited to welcome you all to our AI literacy and digital responsibly webinar today. My hope is that our panel discussion today will highlight some essential elements of AI literacy, its place in K-5 digital citizenship, and touch base on some practical tips and examples to get you and your district or your classroom ready to integrate AI literacy in the coming school year. So before we get started, I'd love for you to just share in the chat a little bit about yourself. Are you a district leader, a school teacher, a school leader, maybe have a different role that you like to share? And then on a 1 to 5, how confident are you feeling about AI literacy in your school, your district, in your classroom? 1 being very confident, 4 being not so confident. So go ahead in the chat and tell us a little bit about yourself. We always love to see kind of who's in our audience. See a media specialist. STEM teacher. Awesome. Digital learning facilitator. Awesome. Technology facilitator. Love it. Oh, thank you, Kim. Oh, Spanish and world music teacher. I love it. How fun for you to start thinking about. Great. Looks like everybody's like a 2, so feeling kind of comfortable, still learning, probably just trying to wrap your head around what this looks like. So I'm going to get started a little bit more. I'm Claire. I come from a background in elementary education, 15 years in CMS. So I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. And now in my role at Robo, I get to combine my classroom experience with supporting teachers as they bring in STEAM and AI literacy to their students. And I'll tell you a little bit more about Robo Wunderkind and who we are. We empower schools and school districts to lead the way in early STEAM and AI education. So think of us as your school or your district's STEAM partner. We bring the curriculum, the robotics kits, the teacher training, and all the support to make that work. So we are kind of an all-in-one program that school districts and classrooms use to help support their STEAM and now our AI education, which I'm super excited to introduce you to. Very excited about our conversation today because we have just launched our first hands-on AI literacy curriculum that is designed specifically for elementary students. And you are actually the first audience that will see some of them. This is not all about our program, but you will see some of it in there. And our goal is to make it simple, to make STEAM and AI education approachable for teachers, engaging for students. So the classroom, there's all the technical jargon and all that stuff isn't get in the way of curiosity, creativity, problem solving. And so it's not just about the tool, but it's really about these conversations that we're all having about what we're learning and what we're experiencing. So we're really looking forward to just being a part of this conversation. and sharing kind of how to expand AI literacy in elementary schools. Here in North Carolina, we've been fortunate to partner with a few wonderful schools and districts and teachers who are already using Robo in really creative and meaningful ways. These educators are helping us see what works best in real classrooms, and their experiences are shaping the future of this work, not just for their students, but for teachers everywhere. And we're lucky to have two leaders. Well, one of our leaders is unable to join us. She is having some technical difficulties, unless she has gotten on.
I'm here. She was able to join. Yeah, I'm here.
So we have our two leaders in North Carolina to help us have this conversation around AI literacy and what that looks like in your classrooms. And so I would love to now introduce you to our first speaker, Lori Hartley. So Lori, if you'll just tell us a little bit about yourself, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Lori Hartley. I had technical difficulty today. I apologize. I have taught for 34 years in the Winston-Salem Forsyth County school system. And it's been a really cool experience for the last 2 years. I have been working very closely with a media coordinator, and I was serving as a STEM teacher in the elementary school K-5. So I got to be in on this exciting launch of Robo Wunderkind with our school system, and then seeing how then I can integrate that in with content at the school that I was working at. Has just been a really fun experiment. I mean, not just experience, maybe is the word I should be using. I have seen how things like this, STEM as a whole, is very much a part of what's helping kids make the connections. And that's what I think I've been the most excited about.
Awesome. Thank you, Lori. And then we also have Vera. So if you would like to introduce yourself a little bit. Oh, Vera.
Talking away on mute. That's my specialty. Sorry. I'm currently the emerging technologies consultant for the Department of Public Instruction and a veteran educator. I'm in my 25th or 28th year actually this year as a public educator. And so in this role, I do a lot to lead the work around AI literacy in North Carolina. And we are particularly getting a lot of requests for K-5 AI literacy and hands-off kind of offline activities. And Robo Wunderkind has a lot of great stuff for that. So we're happy to have them share with you today.
Thank you. So really conversation. We're going to kick it off. And this can be to everybody. You can feel free. We love for you to share your comments in the chat. But our first kind of question is, what was your first aha moment when you realized I could play a meaningful role in education? So if you want to kind of think for a second, and we'll have Vera and Lori share kind of their first ahas. Lori, maybe want to start us off with your first aha?
Sure. Like I said, the media coordinator that I collaborate with a lot, we were having a conversation one day and we laughed. I'm quite a bit older than she is, so we were making the analogy of, well, when I was younger and in school, the teachers made a big deal out of, you've got to know your math facts because you're not going to walk around everywhere with a calculator in your pocket. Fast forward, her teachers were using, well, you've got to learn how to research and use all these books and all of these library resources for research because you're not going to walk around with a computer in your pocket. Fast forward, same, now here we have computers in our pockets, we have calculators in our pockets, and now we have adaptive technology in our pockets that affects us every day. And so knowing how fast or how technology grows, we've got to be able to, just like we had to adapt to a lot of technology when our students were home for COVID. Now we've got to adapt to what is the best way to integrate it well and safely, and have them be able to make good, responsible choices about it in all facets of their lives, just like we do other curriculum areas.
Thanks, Lori. Yeah, for sure. Vera, what's your aha moment?
Okay, well, mine came very early. I actually took a class with ISTE several years ago called something about AI in education, and it was pre-Chat GPT, 2018-ish, something like that. And I just remember thinking then, exploring some of the AI tools that then seemed primitive compared to what we have today. But I remember that seeing those tools and thinking, wow, my grandkids, one of these days, this is probably really going to impact their education. And then lo and behold, Chat GPT came out in November 22, and it really kind of caught me by surprise. And I just hadn't anticipated it that quickly. But then when I started learning it, at that time, very few people really knew anything about it, and started exploring and just testing different prompts and things. Being an educator, first prompts I tried were things like creating lesson plans and essays and such. And, immediately in a few seconds had, a pretty well formulated essay. Again, Chat GPT 3.5 essay is kind of primitive based on what we have today, but it became obvious very quickly that, yes, this is going to help teachers, but it's also going to be something that's going to really cause us to have to rethink how we do education, because our students are going to be able to use it also to create work. And so it's going to create this kind of friction that we're seeing now. And of course, that has proved true, and we're seeing the results of that.
Yeah, definitely. My big aha is kind of building off that, hearing the fear around it. I feel like that was sometimes the first things we were hearing about in education. And I was at a conference and heard someone speaking about AI in education, and they were actually talking about, how there's kids that are at home that have parents that help them with homework assignments and solving math problems, or coming up with science fair projects, or proofreading essays. And there are kids that don't, and their ability to use AI appropriately to help level that playing field, and what, an wide open kind of world that'll be, where kids can maybe now have some of the support that they've been missing in the past to kind of level the playing field. And I think, that's where I think of the importance of AI literacy too, and what we're building, that these kids know it's not a tool for cheating, but a tool to really help them and understand, how far they can go if they use it appropriately. So that's been kind of my aha that's driven me, is just really helping to get it in kids' hands to understand how to use it to benefit them and help them grow and learn more. I'm loving the comments. It's fun to see teachers using it for lesson plans or differentiating texts. Hopefully teachers, we know we spend so much time doing so much of these things, and having a tool like AI to help us, just lessen the load a little bit, maybe free up a little bit more of our time, is really awesome. And I think that's a huge benefit for teachers in the education world. It can't replace us, but it can definitely support our growth, not growth, but our ability to get things done quicker. So next question. I don't know if anyone else has anything in the chat they'd like to share, but our next question, I'd love for Vera to kind of help us discuss, would be, what should students know to be AI literate? So if you're in the audience and maybe you're new to this, there's AI machines and LLM models, and those are the programs that students are typing into and getting answers from and using. AI literacy is more about the learning component. And Vera, if you could share, especially in North Carolina, what are their thoughts, and what are we thinking around what students should know to be AI literate before they're even using those programs, especially as we're thinking of elementary students? You might
Sorry,
be
talking with my mic off again. I'm sorry. I'm in a hotel and there's a lot of outside noise. I keep turning it off so I don't interrupt. Sorry about that. But as I was saying to myself, AI literacy is kind of an evolving definition, and our definition has also evolved. But we feel like that students need to understand, at least on a basic level, what AI is and how it works. Again, on a basic level, they don't need, data scientist level, but they need to understand how it is, how it works, the things it can do well, the things it cannot do well. Having discernment about when to use it or if to use it is important. And for our elementary friends in particular, we feel like it's really, really important to help them draw us the distinction between AI and human, because those lines are really getting blurred more and more every day. And so helping them understand that it's not human, and we caution, people about anthropomorphizing it, using human language to define it, because it is going to be increasingly difficult for our students to make that distinction as they grow up. And then they also, having the discernment to know that it is not going to be 100% accurate, that human component of always analyzing and being the evaluator of the content is super important. It's getting more accurate, but it'll never be 100% accurate. And even just one little change in the system prompt can change that, And so we have to just make sure we're always keeping that human oversight in the equation, and teaching students that's super important.
Yeah. 100%. That's kind of the same thing that we'll see on the screen, is just how it works, the benefits, the limitations, and the risks, and really understanding those components of AI for our young learners before they're starting to get exposed to these tools in different areas. All right, our next piece, which I see, Natasha, you had this question, which Lori will talk about a little bit, is why is AI literacy an important part of digital citizenship today? So we agree that that's a big piece that should be part of digital citizenship, and we're going to let Lori talk a little bit more about that.
A lot of what Vera said kind of exactly, thank you for that segue right into what I'm going to say. One of the things that we realized as going in with our students and starting to talk about or use the technology more is they've grown up in a world so immersed in technology that it's just, they're not afraid of it. And they see so much of it, and even to the point of they start out seeing people they know on the screen and that kind of stuff. So it becomes very humanizing and very trustable. And so it's a very important part for them to realize. And our students, when we just recently, one of the few lessons that I got to teach this year already, is everything on the computer good or not good? They're very quick to say not good, but do they have the skills to discern the difference? And that is something that I think is very important. Even down to, analyzing pictures. Does everything in this picture look real? Does everything in this picture look natural? And that they also need to understand that AI is created by humans, and in that, the less data it has, or the less backing it has, or less reputable source it has, then the less you're going to be able to trust it and use it as a reputable source. So just teaching them to trust their instincts and to question, and always seek that what is it that makes it valid, just like we hope they would do in a text but we've gotten to where, just because you saw it on 3 sources, talking about how algorithms feed you what you see. So making sure that they're able to make those discerned choices and show them examples of why this works and why this doesn't work, and why do you think the changes or differences. So
yeah, no, I think that's all part, and I see Vera kind of in the chat saying, like, it's all, AI literacy is all a part of this, right? And this digital citizenship, which is what you were talking about, and them having to understand and then 21st century skills and all those things. So yeah, it's important for students to know that it influences, or for all of us to understand that it influences everything they do, right? How they learn, act. There is a statistic, and you've probably heard of this, but according to AI for Education, 40% of children aged 7 to 12 and 79% of teens aged 13 to 17 have used at least one major AI tool. So that's a pretty high number of students. I would probably say even the 7 to 12 is even higher now with, our phones and all the things that they're exposed to on a daily basis. So just understanding that that's there. And then it's not neutral, it's designed, right? Like Laura was saying, it's, AI is created by people and fed data, and that's what it's pulling from. So it's not neutral. It is something that is designed. And then they have to learn how to question it and to understand it. So those are all really important pieces of understanding why it is so important to have it in as a part of our digital citizenship today. The next piece we are going to talk about is what are some simple ways we can introduce AI to your students. So we've kind of talked about some of this background, and now it's where do you fit it in? What does that look like? Especially when we're thinking of that K-5, even K-2, right? That is a very different level of understanding. And so we kind of like to say there's 3 different areas that we like to talk about sharing AI literacy. So the first is with hands-on unplugged activities. So a lot of schools and districts, we know, kind of block the use of LLM models, so the large language models. And so finding unplugged ways that you can start to expose them to the vocabulary and some of these things that we talked about. Intentional integration of AI literacy into other subjects. How can you tie it into different things that might be happening in math or science, ELA? And we'll look at a little bit of that today. And then also helping students develop the capacity to interact with it. Kind of, I think Lori or Vera was saying, like, to understand when they're seeing these tools that there should be certain questions and things that they're asking. I know someone was mentioning bias and hallucinations, and having kids understand that that is part of what they might see. So when we start with our strategies, we think about implementing hands-on unplugged activities. And these can be found everywhere. There's some on ISTE that are some great activities. And again, unplugged meaning they are hands-on lessons that are increasing engagement. There's no screens involved. There's no computer involved. So ISTE has lessons that are available. There's also the AI unplugged activities. And then we have released our curriculum, which at the end of the presentation, you can actually have an opportunity to sign up to participate in a pilot, but also for today, because it's our first day and North Carolina is a big has our heart. We will be offering our unplugged lessons, the lessons that you do not need the Robo Wunderkind kit, to all of you in attendance to have access to. So we'll share some of that at the end, but just finding these unplugged activities. There are some through Google, if you wanted on your computer, that are engaging, like Teachable Machines with Google, Quick Draw with Google. Again, these would be computer-based that help to get kids to understand. But there are, just so you know, a lot of activities if you do have a district that's maybe blocking some of that that are available. I'd like for us to have some fun and actually participate in an unplugged AI lesson. So this is an example. I have modified it because we're in a webinar, but this is an example of a lesson that we have in our AI literacy unit for K2 to show an unplugged learning for them. So hopefully you'll all kind of engage in the chat. You should be fine, but it's about, can AI help me? So we start by talking about smart assistants. So a smart computer helper can help with tasks and answer questions, right? So many people use smart assistants on their phone and they make life easier. This would be some of our classroom materials, or this would be the slide that you show to your students to kind of get them thinking about what are these tools. You have Alexa and you have Google and you have your phone and Siri. And so all of these kind of tools that they use. So for today, you are going to be the smart assistant, and you're going to reply in the chat, and I'll kind of give you instructions in a little bit, but we're going to talk about tasks. And so again, we would be explaining to students what a task is, a job or an action someone or something does. Washing laundry is a task that I do each week. And then as the smart assistant, we are going to be thinking about what are tasks I can do as a smart assistant and what are tasks I could not do as a smart assistant. So you are a smart assistant. If it is a task you can do, you will just put a yes, a Y in the chat. If it's something that you cannot do, you can put a no in the chat. A piece that we would want to talk about with the kids too is that there are limits, right? There are, I can only run so far. I have a limit to how far I can go and how far something can be done. And so AI assistants also have limits. And again, you would be talking to your kids about this, thinking about, they answer fact-based questions, they follow voice instructions. They do not have or understand feelings, and they can't do physical tasks. I think, and we kind of talked about it in the beginning, the importance of really starting to get kids to understand at an early age that AI does not have or understand feelings, right? It is a program, and the importance of that. And I think, Vera, you were saying that, like, that kids are starting to mix those lines. So if we can start having these conversations, exposing them to these unplugged activities at an early age, how will that help us in the future with these kids that if in kindergarten we're already saying like they don't have feelings, like they don't understand how you feel, that can kind of help take them in their future, hopefully guide them better in their use of AI. So let's get started. I'm going to show a task. If it is something you as an AI assistant can complete, I want you to put a Y in the chat. If it is something that you as an AI assistant cannot complete, then I want you to put an N. So we'll just do yes, no. So the first one is, can you set a timer? So can an AI assistant set a timer? We got it. Yes, yes, we can. Next one. Can an AI assistant give you a hug? No, right. Cannot give you a hug. Next one. Can it tell you your favorite song? Right. No, it can't tell you your favorite song. Someone's saying it can tell them their favorite song. It might if you have played a song a bunch of times. If you maybe told it before, but if you were to just say, Alexa, play my favorite song, it would pull the data of songs that you have listened to, probably the most, but it would have to have some kind of data there in order to play that song. So I know that can be a little bit of a tricky one, but for the most part, that's kind of like a feeling you have about a song, and it wouldn't do that. So will it rain today? Yes, someone's saying, I'm too, like, remember we're thinking like if this is your kindergartners, second graders, this is a K-2 lesson. So we want to kind of have that frame of mind and how would we use this to guide them? So it can tell you if it'll rain. How are you feeling today? Can it tell you how you're feeling today? Right. No, it can't. And again, I think these are those important conversations to really stress, especially when you're talking to little kids. Say hello in Spanish. Can it say hello in Spanish for you? Yes, it can. Can you play a song for me? Now this, it can, right? Like, yes, it can play a song. We're not asking it for a specific song. We're just saying to play a song. And the last one, will you keep my secrets? It'll probably say yes, but is it really going to do that? No, right? So again, unplugged lessons in that K-2 field should be really just exposing kids to some of this knowledge that we want them to start thinking about, right? I think sometimes when we're thinking about this AI literacy, we might be thinking about older kids or even AI models, kids that have used AI without any of this literacy behind it, right? Kids that are going and kind of those lines are getting blurred. And how do we start to educate kids at an earlier age so those lines maybe aren't so blurry anymore, because they've been hearing since kindergarten really what AI is capable of and how it works. So we always include a reflection at the end, but that would just be an example of an unplugged activity. It's really simple. And again, obviously this is a K-2 lesson. And so as we get into 3-5, and you will see like some of the ISTE lessons and even those AI unplugged, I would say are probably a little bit older, like 2nd through 5th grade. But again, they're kind of just starting to get them thinking and having you be able to have conversations with your kids. This could include movement. I see different like teachers in special areas, like how could you add in, arts or music? These unplugged activities can be so simple at those young ages. And I think that's what is important, especially the younger age. These kids are going to be, it's everywhere. So, we just wanted to kind of share an example to kind of show you how simple some of that integration can be with the unplugged activities. The next piece that we have is talking about integrating AI literacy into existing subjects like math, science, ELA. The slide here shows some kind of simple ways that you might be able to incorporate AI into different subjects. And we also are going to have Lori share an amazing way that she started this process of integrating a STEAM lesson. And so I'm going to let Lori kind of take over her slide here about intentionally integrating into other subjects. Lori, you might be muted if you're talking.
When I chat popped up, my mute went away. So I'm like trying to.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason this is kind of an awkward time for me. So all of these were things that I did last year. But in 100% transparency, if you're in North Carolina and everything that's going on with Winston-Salem and Forsyth County Schools, unfortunately, the funding from my position got pulled. So sadly, my plans for taking this project from last year and moving it forward, I can tell you what I would be doing, but at this point, I do not have employment to do that. So, but I'm working on that and would still love to encourage and promote it in any way that I can for somebody else, because it's definitely been a good thing. So, so when you hear me talk about past tense, present tense, and it sounds confusing, welcome to my world for the last 2 weeks. So, okay. So this project was actually done with 2nd grade. And this was a group of students that have been in the whole time that our school has integrated the Robo Wunderkind into our STEM. It is not the only product that we use. This is just one that they're old enough now that they know how to use it. So it was time to start using it for something, not just saying, oh, look, you know how to code. It was, well, let's connect this back. We actually did this in conjunction with their social studies standards about mapping. And so but it goes way back before I started putting in those standards. The very first lesson first part was in step 1. All the rage and all the kids get all excited right now about the self-driving cars. And we actually had conversations about, well, a self-driving car, what would the pros of that be and what would the cons of that be? Why would it be good? When would it be bad? It was really cool at the time because there was actually a news story that came up on, I think it was the NBC News one night, and I happened to see it, that was about a self-driving car that wouldn't let the guy out of the car. And so there was a real connection there to be able to say, hey, is that a time that it's good? Why may have that have happened? So then we went back and started talking about, well, it's because self-driving cars are designed and programmed by humans. It's not just a car that automatically knows how to drive you around. And we actually watched several different videos, and they picked up on the fact that in all of the videos of the self-driving cars, there was always some kind of map there. And so, bingo, that was the first thing I wanted them to notice. So then we went on to step 2, and that is where the little blue board that you can see, it's small, but they actually use dry erase boards to design. Just design a car. Here are the pieces you have. Design a car looking, that you think would be a good self-driving car. A lot of them there are sensors that look like little eyes, which of course look like headlights and those kind of things. And so that became integrated. One of the reasons that I chose the picture that I did in step 2, they built the coolest looking car, but then when it came time to drive it in step 3, they realized because of the way that they put the wheels on, it couldn't turn, because when they didn't allow it any flexibility for it to pivot. And so before they could even go on to the next step, they had to realize that the design phase of things like that, sometimes you make mistakes and you have to go back and pivot and change those. So we went from, okay, I've built a car that can actually move and actually turn. Now I need it to go exactly where I want it to go, not just drive willy-nilly anywhere. And that's where step 3, in the picture, it's really hard to see, but there is actually, that's the floor of the classroom, and there's masking tape, and I did masking tape in all kinds of jagged, sometimes right angles, sometimes more than that, but little different angles. And this is when the students learn to actually code the car. It can go this distance, then it has to pivot this much, then go this distance, and then when it gets here, so they actually learned that their car would move and could actually function on a map or function on roads. From there, we took a departure from the robotics, and we went back to learning about actual maps. What had they done in the classroom? What were the essential pieces of a map? What had to be there? And the picture in step 4 that you see, I had just the giant butcher paper. And when they came in that day, all that was on it was the blue lines, like what had been on my floor in the classroom. But, now what is missing? And luckily they were able to tell me those very key pieces of a map, the title, the landmarks, all of a sudden in my head, the map key, all of those things, the compass rose, all of those things. So then we set out as a group to create all of those pieces. And what you see on the final project there, it's all 4 pieces, instead of being one big long, all 4 pieces put together with maps that I created the connections. They each had their house on there, and then they had to work in partners to create the important landmarks in their community, and then the important pieces that were on a map. So now we went back to the robotics, and what you see there is there's a student on all 4. I just put their car in front of them and the iPad that was connected to the car that they were driving, and it was then their job to drive their car to their house, honk the horn and inform you they were at their house, and then from there I gave them the directive, okay, now go to Taco Bell or now go to the dentist office, and they had to then announce, oh, I'm going north or I'm going south. So what I realized then, because you can imagine when 4 cars are going like that 4 different ways, we had a lot of crashes. So what I've since learned and learning about using the sensor and adding in that technology, I would love to then bring in the AI part and train the sensors. We actually did an experiment, Claire, Matthias, and I online, and trained the sensor to what is close, what is far, what is mid, and then what is far. And kind of thinking, oh, wouldn't it have been cool if we could have designed the cars with a light on top, that as long as that light is green, then everything's far away and you're good, drive. When you start getting into the yellow, you need to slow down a little bit. It's not free driving anymore. Something is in your range, which of course is what our self-driving cars or our cars that even have driver assist do. They definitely, when they see that stop sign or they see those things, they slow them down. And then when your light turns red, to stop. So there's the way I would have moved forward with the AI, given the opportunity to do so. But it was super, to me, it brought the mapping standards to life hugely. They were very excited about it when we finished with the maps driving, we hung them up outside of their classroom. They were very eager to show their parents and make sure their parents understood, what location that they, when they came in for the end, because this happened all around the end of year picnics and stuff. So it was really cool for them to be able to talk about that and see that. But it brought technology in the real world and to life, and all the pieces that it took to make that happen. And that was the reflection piece that Claire was mentioning, is going back at the end and saying, so is an AI car, a self-driving car, just an easy thing to pull off? And of course, at that point you got all of the resounding no, so it was a neat way. And then it brought those standards to life too. And even some of the students, we have a pretty big multilingual population at Rural Hall Elementary, which was where I was. And even some students who could barely speak and definitely struggle with the reading and the math and the writing piece, they were so into it. I even had one student that was close to he hardly spoke, but one day he was like, no, I tell her. And he was that adamant. So to me, that was a time that he could engage that sometimes other students could. So putting it to life was a good thing. So
yeah, no, I think it's great. And I'm glad you mentioned, we're going to share a little video of exactly what Lori was saying. But I also want to say too, like when I think of these unplugged AI with Lori's lesson, is then even we're going to show kind of our Robo Wunderkind, what we have just released. This is, you are the first people to see this video of our program. But, thinking about explaining to kids how, yes, they drive by themselves, but they're taking data, like those cars are reading data. They're using all this information and using kind of an AI to then respond to those things. And so being able to bring in tools and ideas that they're seeing and explaining what is happening in the background to make those things work. It's not magic. And so that's kind of a way to be thinking about some of your lessons, and can you add in some of these AI tools and then be able to talk about how it is that you can integrate them. So I'd love to show you today how we're going to build our own AI neural network inside Robo Wunderkind and make self-driving cars so they won't crash. So let me get our video started. So it's really cool. We're going to start really simple, kind of like Lori was saying. We're going to write code in our RoboCode interface that will tell the robot to drive forward when the light is green, and then slow down on orange, stop completely at red, and even make a car sound. And then finally, the car is going to drive back and turn around. This is the code, pretty straightforward. But now we're going to make it super smart by adding our AI triggers. So you can see in the video, they're selecting that. We're picking our distance sensor, and we're going to build our neural network. We're naming it, and we're adding some labels: close, near, far. And then we're going to train those labels. So we're going to use our distance sensor, and you can see in the video, we're training it to read close, we're training it to read near, and we're training it to read far. Once we're training that, we're getting a lot of data points. We want about 100 so that the model can learn what it's being fed, right? After that, we'll train our model, and we want it to be around above 90%. That way the car can make reliable decisions in real time. And then we're going to test our AI. So we're going to see the triggers, and then we're going to watch. So on the one screen, you see the code. On the other side, you see that we're testing our AI models. So you're seeing the neural networks being made. We're seeing the car register those different distances that we set in the sensor. And then therefore the kids, and again, would be 3-5, are starting to understand how these neural networks are being created in AI. And so that is our new, very quickly, example of our AI literacy model that will be included in some of our 3-5 lessons. So it's really that simple to bring it to life. It's very exciting, and we're looking forward to seeing what can be done in the future with some of these sensors, and as we start to think about coding and robotics in new ways. So we just wanted to share that. And again, just be thinking about how you can be integrating these AI literacy pieces. Moving on to the next piece that we talked about for integrating and helping students develop the capacity to interact critically with AI tools. So this is just some ideas, and you can kind of think about your own. And I know that North Carolina has, I've seen Vera sharing a lot of things on LinkedIn about different things that they want the kids to understand, different levels. But this is kind of about getting them to interact critically, to not just pull it up and type in that they want an answer, but to understand how the tools that they're using are functioning, to observe the behavior of the tool, evaluate its usefulness, consider the safety of a tool. I know someone was talking about, personal identifying information, and then reflecting on fairness and bias, and also the metacognition, right? Be able to learn and use it in the future, and how that kind of develops. So thinking of wanting to build that capacity within students and get them to really kind of interact with tools with a critical thinking mindset, trying to use it to be beneficial. So that is kind of our last little recommendation. I don't know if Vera, or if you have anything you want to share, or Lori, before we kind of move on to our question and answer section.
I would love for you to show that free lesson, but I guess that's a couple slides up that you're going to give them. I think that would be cool for them to see.
Yeah, no, we're going to get there. That's coming up. Is there anything that you would like them to take away in thinking of engaging in AI literacy in their classrooms, or even like interacting with these tools, or anything that you think would be good for them to know as we finish up kind of those pieces of integrating AI literacy in their clarsrooms?
I don't think so specifically. I don't want to take too much time because it's running short. So, yeah.
So this is the time too, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. We might not be able to get to all of them today, but I'd love for you to write them in there, and we can help answer them for you, send you, some follow-up information. There is only about 10 minutes left, so I'd love to kind of share some of what Robo is going to be sharing with everybody today. So I'll take a few minutes and give you a couple seconds if you have any questions. And then I'll share a little bit about our Robo curriculum. All right, so the first thing is we'd love to invite you to be among some of the first to introduce AI literacy in your elementary classrooms in hands-on, age-appropriate ways. And so we've just launched, as I've said, our first AI curriculum, and we're offering a pilot program that you could be a part of if you're interested. But actually with this link, you're also going to be able to receive all of our unplugged lessons that we have. We have a Steam Hub where we share everything. So we are going to be sharing those lessons with you. You don't need Robo Wunderkind to use those unplugged lessons. If you wanted the visual piece where we show in the neural networks and all of that, that will be something that you would want to participate in the pilot on. We are just releasing it, so we're looking for others to join us. Then again, the AI pilot is there. So if you'll sign up for that and just give us a couple days, we'll follow up with the link for the curriculum for you. And then, so I'll give you a couple minutes to take that. I see question. Stephanie, we can follow up with that. And I can share your information with our head of development to share some of that information with you. Oh, thank you, Vera. Vera just shared that link for you. And then I'm also going to share the next.
I'm just going to jump in real quick. Sorry, this is Matthias. Also with Robo Wunderkind. Let's go back to the slide before. So we were thinking about what we can give to our North Carolina community. So this is really where you want to register today. As Claire has mentioned, we have the whole pilot is something where you can participate, where you actually have robotics kits and all. But we were thinking about what can we give to our North Carolina community, and we said, let's give them access to the unplugged activities with no costs, and you can just take them, bring them into the classroom. So whoever signs up today, we will reach out to you and get you started, get access to the unplugged activities, and you can bring them to the classroom. So that's really your chance. It's all super fresh, of course, for us as well. But yeah, just sign up. Our team will check everything. Everyone who is from North Carolina and signs up today will send you an access where you can log in and then see all of the lessons. So I also wanted to say hello. And now I'll go to the background again. Nice to see everyone.
And then the last link here, this is a link to our first lesson in our AI curriculum. So it's K2 Unplugged Lesson, Unit 1, Lesson 1. So again, if you would like to, and we can put that link in the chat, sign up. This will literally open up the lesson for you. It'll also kind of give you an example of what our lessons look like. And this kind of follows our format for all of our curriculum. We don't just do AI, we do everything. So that kind of gives you an example of a lesson, but this will be an actual lesson. You could take it, today and start planning it to use later this week. It's the full lesson. So we have a question about what the robots and what the grade. We are K-5. So what you saw, it looks a little advanced, but all of our coding is done on picture and color logic. So that video that you saw, it's actually sped up quite a bit. But we do K-5 is what our program, pre-K through 5th grade, is the focus on.
And speaking from a teacher in the classroom with them, the kindergarten, when you know what you're looking at on the coding screen now, it looks much more manageable to me what was going on really fast. If you had shown me that 2 years ago, my brain would have blown, but it does not blow the littles' brains at all. It, like you said, it's very color logic based on the colors of the blocks. So they don't have any problem and with making it. And they also see very quickly, it doesn't have to be done the same way to make the same results happen. So it's really kind of cool to see their problem solving with it.
Yeah, so we had some questions about they can be used on Chromebooks, on iPads. We have a mobile app. We have our web app. The AI components are on Chromebooks on our web app, but we can kind of work with everything. And then the curriculum, our AI curriculum that we'll be sharing with you as a North Carolina teacher, we will be sharing that for free. The access to our full curriculum hub would be a part of the purchase, that if you purchase the whole robotics kit, but the AI curriculum we'll be sharing for free. Any other questions?
There's somebody on the webinar that's not from North Carolina that has asked about it.
Yes, everyone who is here today and signs up now, we will see it and we'll send you access to it. It's just today and it won't be available tomorrow, but everyone who is here today and signs up, we will see the time slot. And if not, just send us an email. We'll make sure you get access to those projects.
Thank you.
Well, we had a really great time today on the webinar. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Again, as Matthias said, we had the link. I can share that slide again with you for more information. Our Robo teachers, you got to see the new feature that will be released. So we're very excited for all that's to come in AI literacy.
Okay, and I dropped the link for our standard webinar feedback form on there. Remember that if you submit that, you do get an email with a CEU certificate to the same email. So we would appreciate your feedback. And thank you guys so much, Robo Wunderkind, Claire, and Matthias, and thank you, Laurie, for joining in and providing your experience. I really appreciate it. We still have a couple of minutes, but I just wanted to make sure everybody has access to that feedback form. And we appreciate you sharing that curriculum. That's very generous of you. Appreciate it. Hope everybody on the call has gotten that link.